Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Wednesday Wake Up with the Teach Better team, where we have the opportunity to go live every single Wednesday to, support you empowering through your week. We have so many different things that we are excited to dive into. We want to get into a deep dive discussion around a specific topic. We have a fun little challenge for you coming up. And of course, we have some big news that was announced at the Teach Better conference that many of you I know are preparing for. It opens in less than a week. I just cannot believe it's almost November 1st. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Rae Hughart. I am live once again with the one and only Katie Miglin. Katie, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Happy Wednesday, Rae. I'm really looking forward to my Wednesdays these days now that they get to start with you. I think we started off just maybe thinking it was a 1 week thing, but here I am, another week, another Wednesday.
Don't you love when that happens? When like originally you joined the show because Jeff needed to take a Wednesday off.
Yes.
And now you are stuck for at least a few more weeks. At least a few more weeks.
Yeah, I felt like maybe we were both in denial because I was still getting like the text on Tuesday, like, hey, you want to go live tomorrow? Like as if I didn't know that it was happening. And every time I would be like, yeah, sure. But now I'm like, I don't even get those anymore. It's just assumed. So
Assume that you will wake up and show up for a 7 a.m. Eastern when you are 6 a.m. Central live stream.
Yeah.
It's true. Good morning, everyone. We're glad you're here too.
Yeah.
Thank you for setting your alarms as you're getting ready and turning on the Wednesday Wake Up. I did hear a lot of people note that they had like notifications on their social media when the team went live, which is a great kind of alert or alarm to tune into stuff. I like those reminders.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate the people who are making this a priority to watch it. Like
See, so good.
Joe and Debbie, good morning, you two, and Facebook users.
Well, we did get to see a lot of you at the Teach Better 2022 conference, but even if we haven't seen you recently, we're glad we're seeing you virtually. So a lot to celebrate there.
Yeah. And can I give a shout out to people who are up right now? Because I don't know about you, Rae, but it's hard to get up now that the sun is not up.
I
I
was gonna
mean,
say
it's not
it's
like,
so dark. It's
yes,
so
and it's not
dark.
like, oh, the sun is out there. I can see it. It's like pitch black. Like it could be 2 in the morning right now, and I'd have no idea because it's so dark.
So dark. I'm so glad that you are all persevering. That's kind of what this show started on is we
Yeah.
were trying to decide the best times to go live to support you. One of the things I know a lot of our crew here advocated for daily drop-in was they liked having a morning routine.
Yeah.
So in theory, if we're here every Wednesday, you're halfway through the week, we're gonna give you a little boost, some perseverance to rock out the rest of the week like really, really well, supporting kiddos and being in community, and then we come together on Sundays to kick off the start to a strong week. And I really value those of you that have seen the opportunity that we've been trying to present. It's kind of fun.
I think it's nice too for people who have come, if they come today, then it's like, just tell yourself you only have 2 more wake ups. We do a lot of countdowns in our house. And if you're already awake, check done. You're here. You're good. Your Wednesday has started. So you only have 2 more days where you have to turn off that alarm. So you
We
can do this.
also, yeah, you totally got this, friends. And as you already know, we are currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. So if you wouldn't mind doing us a favor and sharing this feed, this is a good opportunity to get some of your other connections, other friends and family on this routine as well. So feel free to share the feed. But more importantly, I would love, even if you tagged us while you're doing that, I'd love to hear why you chose to tune in this morning. Is this something that you have a drive to tune into because there's an element of the show that you like? Is there a major takeaway? Feel free to quote us. I don't know. We've said nothing valuable thus far, but in theory, if you share the feed, that's always a great way to entice new friends and family, is letting them know why you felt like this was valuable. Katie, how's that coffee over there? Is it kicking in yet?
Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. This is my Wednesday wake up bug because it's a lot larger and I can usually make it until the hour mark and it like is just barely at the bottom. I've made the mistake, friends, when we did daily drop-in before, I made the mistake of bringing the short mug like Rae, and at about 15 minutes, you're out, and then what? And then what are you doing?
I'm in the same boat. I specifically didn't start drinking it until you and I were live in the background. So it's been about 15 minutes total, 5 minutes into the show, and I'm already running low. This is not a
Right,
good
because
sign.
you have the little baby cups. They look like they should be in the Alice in Wonderland, like, tea party. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I think that, I'm just
Okay.
wanting to
We've
go home.
already spent too much time on this show in previous episodes explaining what is in my coffee cup and why it's the size that it is. So do not go there with me this morning.
Just every time it makes me giggle. I'm like, "Oh, she must be going to hang out with Alice in Wonderland later."
Okay. Do you know what I realized? Funny enough, speaking of weird things related to the show, because there's so many. We played the intro commercial, where it's like dun 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 dun, dun. It's like the
I don't know, can you give me a little bit more? I'm not sure that I know what we're talking about.
It's like dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about? It's the Teach
Yeah,
Better song.
yeah.
And I think it's funny because you and I are both featured in that intro. I think we're both wearing these shirts when we're featured. And I do have this moment where I want to know for those of you that are commenting, I love all the activity this morning. That really shows us that you're in great spirits. We appreciate hearing from you. I think it's funny when people must log in and be like, oh yeah, Katie's back in a black shirt, or oh yeah, Ray's back wearing that brown long sleeve shirt that she wears all the time. Like they must know.
I think it just makes them feel comforted, honestly, it's like
Or it looks like
feels
we
like
don't
home.
shower, one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I feel like, though, when I wear a black long sleeve, it's like 50-50 chance, is Rae Hughart in black today or one of her brown hues? I
Right.
never know. I take a chance every time because I know I put this black shirt on and then you're wearing black and suddenly we're in the same space because their backgrounds look similar. It's a whole thing.
I want to know what color you are wearing this morning. If you are in the comments, just give us a one-line comment. What color are you currently wearing? If you're still in your pajamas, that's fine. We want to know the
Mhm.
color of the top. And if you are dressed and driving to work right now, because we have people that listen all the way
Yeah.
from East Coast all the way around, depending on what time it is, you might be in different apparel. We want to hear what color you're wearing because I thought brown was a good easy feature this morning. It'll be good. I'm seeing gray. Ooh, turquoise, black. Okay, we got some color going, but also some
Yeah.
good neutrals. I like this.
Yeah. We've got a lot of people in the comments today. It's
Orange. Yes.
all right.
Okay. Can I say I think I'm pro orange more than normal these days. I'm all about orange.
Okay. You can be about orange. Is it because it's like pumpkin season?
Well, I know that that's a good influence. It is Halloween. Is it okay? Hold on. Is Halloween this week or is Halloween next week? And here's the reason I'm asking because my line was going to be, yeah, but it's Halloween week, but technically it's next week, even though it's not. What would you say in your vernacular?
I
I'm
think
not.
I would say it's this. I would say it's like Halloween week because there's so many things that happen over like, like Boo at the Zoo or, trunk or treat. Like all those things are like kicking into gear.
Yeah,
And really, like, I don't know about what your experience is, but like our kids, both of their parties are this week.
our
They're not
Friday.
next week. Yeah.
That's
So I
true.
don't know. I feel like it's a whole thing. I don't know. I think it's Halloween week. We're going to celebrate it this week because next week we won't be able to celebrate it. So
And the struggle is when we are live together next week, it's not like anyone celebrates Halloween after November 1st. It's like
no, in fact, I have this weird thing. It's like the white pants after Labor Day. Like we have not been able to carve pumpkins some years, and I'm like, I can't. Like Halloween's over, you can't carve a pumpkin in November. Like that's not right.
I mean,
Ooh, Brianna Shaner. She is the win. I give Halloween a week to be celebrated, so Monday to Monday. I love that. There you
okay,
go.
so technically you could say this is Halloween week because Monday was
Yeah,
2 days ago, and then we
right.
have okay.
And Holly says that we are coming up on Halloween weekend. Yeah, I think there has to be like a designated weekend, unless Halloween's on a Wednesday, and then I think you just celebrate nonstop.
Well, you actually dictate when I celebrate Halloween because I go to your house for a Halloween party, and depending on the day of that party, depends on me knowing when Halloween's to be celebrated.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, I don't have my own opinion because your calendar dictates when I celebrate.
Okay. All right. Well, good. I'm glad I can dictate one day of your calendar.
It's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comments this morning. We must be in like a commenting mood. This is my favorite
Yes.
live so far. I love
Me
all
too.
these strong opinions. Maybe we're really hitting a nerve here.
Okay. So I want to know then, since people are active in the comments, if you are going to a Halloween party.
Wait, do you see Brianna's comment? Can we address that?
Oh, the day after Halloween is Christmas. I did see this comment and I was choosing to ignore it.
Okay, Brianna, you live in the US. You know Thanksgiving's in the middle. We'll get back to you. Go ahead, Katie. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
you know her Christmas tree is probably already out of the box.
No. You're confused. If you're in Canada, fine. If you're in the UK, fine. But you're in the US, so it's Halloween, Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
Hanukkah, Christmas. Just so you know.
Yeah, I agree. You don't have to convince me. I think you and Brianna need to have a separate
I'm
conversation.
calling you later.
But okay, but the reality is a lot of people like they put their trees up early. Like their trees are up mid-November, like Thanksgiving has a tree in it.
You're missing the point. I think I'm actually pro both of these conversations because as somebody who doesn't put up lights, I love when your lights are all up early. Put your lights up as early as possible. Christmas lights are one of my favorite things ever. It's still Thanksgiving first, but put your lights up in September. I love seeing them.
Okay, you guys, there you go. Rae wants to see them, so bring out all the lights.
Bring the lights
However,
out and post a photo and tag me. I want to see your lights.
there you go. There are quite a few people though that are pretty adamant that Christmas begins the day after Thanksgiving. So, okay, so I'm glad we got that.
In the US, knowing that in other
Yeah,
countries
right,
they
right.
don't have Thanksgiving in between, we understand. Like Canada already had their Thanksgiving a few weeks
Yeah.
ago. So
Well, if you don't have a holiday on the calendar in between, you're allowed to celebrate earlier, start the little festivities. But if you don't, you have to acknowledge all the holidays equally.
and can we do a special shout out to Diwali that put up lights early because so many people had celebrations for Diwali this week. Thank you for having a cool holiday that I get to celebrate in and see all your
Yes.
lights.
And fireworks. I don't know about you. We had a ton of
So
fireworks down here, which was
So
awesome.
many.
Yeah,
So
super, super cool. Okay, so
anyway, you were gonna ask something. Sorry.
I need this heated debate settled between Rae Hughart and I. See, you guys get the benefit of being our tiebreakers when her and I disagree on things on Tuesdays. So, if you were going to not a Christmas,
Christmas party.
let me start this over. If you were going to a Halloween party and there were games,
Ugh.
there were games that were interactive that required you to do things.
Adult games. These are
Yes.
not games like it's a kid's party and there's games.
Yeah, we're not doing like pin the tail on the donkey and bobbing for apples. No. It's like, adult games. Like
Also, adults are present and no children are present. I want that to be
Yes.
very specific because I'm willing to play games when there's a 5-year-old running around.
Okay, there's like a 45-year-old running around, but
Yes.
whatever. Okay, so it's adult games. Do you think there should be
Now when you say adult games, it sounds dirty, just so you know you said it too many times.
This is the takeaway, people. If you're at a party and there are games, do you think that there should be an opportunity for people to opt out? Or do you think it should be good old-fashioned fun and all hands on deck, everyone just plays with a smile on their face just because it's fun? What do you think? AKA, should I give Rae an out because she doesn't want to play the games for 0 reasons other than she just doesn't feel like it?
Because I'm no fun. An example of the games would be like one person has like 20 pom-poms and the other person has a cup on their head and they have to catch the pom-poms. Like that's the type of games we're talking about here.
Yes.
And I think that people should play games. I think people should enjoy the joy of teams and activities, and I think people should bring their laughter and have great times, and I should be allowed to sit in the corner and laugh at people and not play. Ooh, look at Adam in the comments. I'm sorry, Katie, do you want to read that?
No, I don't. Adam, nope. I'm not pulling your comment on the screen.
Because he's thinking you forgot, Katie, you're asking the wrong audience because our audience right now is getting ready for the classroom, right? We're getting ready for school. So we're trying to accommodate for all comfort levels and everything else. If we were talking about this at the end of the day, like if there was a live stream tonight and we asked, people would be like, now play the game, do it.
Okay, I have a lot of questions about whoever this is opting out equals no Jello shots. Okay. All
I'm
right, good to
sorry.
know.
Is that a part of the list this year too?
I'm not telling you.
Why do you have so many secrets? Guys, you're all invited to the Halloween party. Text me if you want the address.
But all of you have to play the games because I'm not an inclusive person when it comes to Halloween party.
Okay, I want you to know that
Okay.
Adam and Holly in the comments are both saying that there should be an opt out. There's also somebody, Facebook user, and Joe says, "Oh, Joe wants to know we're dressing up like how for Halloween."
Okay. Apparently, I figured out who Facebook user was. That apparently I think was Matt Miglin, based on Brianna Shainer's comment.
For those of you that are listening on Teach Better Talk podcast, or if you're new to our live streams, anybody in our private Facebook group, which you could also be a part of over at teachbettergroup.com, you have to like click a setting for your name to be seen. And it's always fun when people haven't adjusted that setting. FYI, I don't think I've even done that setting because I don't know how to do it, but it's really, really easy from somebody told me one time. And anyway, then we can see your name versus having to guess. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anywho, there is so much to be laughing about, and I'm excited to see all of you, especially in the comments, especially at Katie's Halloween party coming up here in a few days, where we're all going to opt out of the games.
Nope.
But
No, that's not an option. So I guess don't come. I don't know. But I'm not saying that to you, Rae, but we will post pictures so you can see the games so that you can understand why it's everybody's got to play, no opting out, smiles on your face.
And then to address Joe's question, we have some secrets to our Halloween costumes that I don't think we can reveal in this show. But Katie, I believe you and I are going to be live next week together. We should do like a Halloween recap where we share about our family's costumes, our own costumes. We can ask our viewers about what costumes they did, their experience. So maybe we could table that for next week.
Yes, Joe, there's a very heated costume contest.
Yeah.
I always laugh that it's a cash prize. It's not. But that's why we will not share our secrets because.
But if you are currently on October 26th in need of a costume idea and you don't have one, you should like direct message Katie and I, and we'll tell you in private. We just can't talk about it on air right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, be good. Hey, Katie, during the show, we typically get into like other things other than shenanigans. We're 20 minutes in, haven't done anything. Do you think maybe we could go into teachable moments?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. We'll be right back. Good morning, friends. We are live for the Wednesday Wake Up Morning Show with the Teach Better team, where we have the opportunity to go live every single Wednesday on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn to get you persevering throughout the week. I will love to kick off this segment by really sharing my appreciation for all of your loyalty, because in the comments, y'all wanted me to have the opt-out option, and that just shows this is the loving community I know. And these are my people, Katie. These are my people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad you have some people, because on Saturday when you're playing games begrudgingly, I'm going to remind you that your people are not at that party.
They are going to be there this year. Friends, text me and I will send you the address. I hope you can get to, not to Chicago. It's actually Central Illinois. I hope you can get to Central Illinois within the next few days. Can't wait to see you.
Yeah.
Katie, for Teachable Moments, I know this is typically, in a perfect world, a segment where we can discuss a topic currently going on in education and then give some actionable steps for how we can be better in this area. Obviously, we love joking about costumes and coffee and t-shirt colors and everything in between, but we did have a topic that we thought would be really good for our crew this week to reflect on and possibly take action steps to work towards being better. So where should we get started?
Well, you and I were discussing at one point how it's in some places kind of end of first quarter is either happened or getting ready to happen, or, all the things kind of, I feel like we're in that fallish time period where we're getting ready for maybe parent teacher conferences, or maybe not, some people do it differently. But you and I have talked multiple times about kind of how do we reflect? How do we provide that moment, that intentional pause to give students the platform to be thinking about where have they been and where are they going? And I know you and we've talked about it 100 different times in 100 different ways, but I kept coming back to that idea of like, well, yeah, we both of us have done intentional reflection day to day, but there's also an opportunity, if you're not someone that has done that, to do it also at the end of like a grading period, or when there's a natural transition. Some of you have fall break. So I just thought that'd be kind of a good thing to talk about, like, what is the benefit of student reflection? Why do we do it, and how to facilitate it? So
I love this topic. I think it's a really good touch point for us also at the end of October, that if we had our own personal goals to implement some of these strategies that are best practices that we know have a ton of research to support the progression of our student success, why not get a little bit of the conversation flowing, just in case we hadn't gotten there yet this year.
right.
I know for me, Katie, when I graduated from college and they give you that like teacher certification to go change the world, student reflection was one that I knew was an important element of a successful progressive classroom that I had no idea how to implement. And I kind of described this in other talks I've been able to give, but I feel like you leave college with like a gallon-sized bag of puzzle pieces, and every puzzle piece symbolizes one of those research-supported best practices that every teacher should do for a successful classroom. The problem is that when you leave with a bag of puzzle pieces and none of them are clicked together, then it's the teacher's responsibility when they get into the classroom to figure out how to put the puzzle together. And I think a lot of educators then, unfortunately, but not, I don't really necessarily think it's their fault, but unfortunately only get a few of those pieces together and the rest go untouched because we get busy, or we can't find the right piece, or we don't quite see how it fits in with our structure that we essentially create from the ground up as we enter into the field. And reflection is a great one. I started off my first year teaching doing reflection all the time. I did it sometimes during day-to-day class, sometimes at the end of the week, sometimes I did it at the end of the quarter, at the end of the month. And my struggle was like, I felt like it was wasting time in the classroom. And I don't mean wasting time because it's not a good practice. There's a lot of research that supports this being something that's essential for a classroom these days. But when you don't know how to do it, why you're doing it, it is like a waste of 10 minutes to do it.
And I think too, kind of to piggyback off that, if there's no consistency, I always struggled with that, where it was like kind of whenever I needed a time filler, it's like, oh, we're back from break, so let's do a day of like reflecting on the last semester. Where are we going? It was like, it just seemed to be a time filler. But Holly says in the comment, there should always be a purpose and an action that comes from it. And I think that is super important, because that's what directs the next step. We can reflect all day long, but if we're doing nothing with the reflection and we're not having students do anything with the reflection, then it does become kind of a waste of time.
Well, and I think that, Holly, you hit the nail on the head. I think that is the perfect equation that you've given us right there, that there isn't a wrong time to reflect. It wasn't wrong early on that I was having kids reflect at the end of the week. It wasn't wrong that we were doing it at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, or that we were doing it day to day. The what was wrong was that there was no intention behind it, and it was just some willy-nilly thing that I threw at my students and said, this is valuable, believe it's valuable, but then never told them why it was valuable, how they could use it, and anything about it. We just like did it to check a box. And that's where I think a lot of educators get stuck with goal setting and reflecting, is if it's just to check a box, it's not valuable. So if you're looking to implement this practice, we have to be better to understand why it's valuable for your students' lives to have this be the case, and then explain that and hold them accountable for it. I will also say, Katie, and I know this is going down a rabbit hole, so direct me however you think is best, but it's really hard to have students goal set and reflect about content when the teacher is dictating the content. So I'm just going to like leave that there. There's other things to reflect on other
Yes.
than content.
Yes.
So like we could go either way here, but it's really hard to have a student set a goal, a content related goal, when the teacher is dictating the content direction and pacing.
No, I think you're right. I think there is opportunity for reflection in other ways. If you're the driving the content train, then I think you have to be intentional of what is the reflection going to look like, because as adults, we know if you reflect on something but can't make a change, you're actually unable to make a change to change the reflection outcome for the next time. Then it's a waste of time, and it's disheartening. If you have a student that's like, I haven't been able to meet these goals, I haven't been able to meet the expectations given to me in my class, but they can't actually change the pacing, they can't change the content, they can't change the delivery. Well, then it is kind of this moment where, then what's the point? And what's the point of them reflecting? So then you have to think, okay, am I going to have them reflect on the behaviors or what they can control? So I think that is a great point, is reflecting on what they can control so that they can change, so that the reflection continues to have them grow and be a better going forward.
So I love this connection. I've not thought of it this way before. So thank you for making this connection in my own brain. But we talk a lot with our teachers recently. I say recently, guys, it's been forever, but especially over the last few years, about controllables or non-controllables.
Yep.
And we've been doing that related to stress mostly. So when
Mm-hmm.
I would, work with a teacher in some sort of coaching session, I'd be like, let's make a list. You're extremely overworked and stressed. What are the things that you have control over and what things you don't have control over?
Mm-hmm.
And we do that in practice, knowing that whatever's on that list of things I don't have control over, we choose to put that to the side because we can't impact those. And we only look at the things we can control. And that's what we work to better the stress level of the educator. You can use that same activity with yourself, either reflecting in your classroom or with your students, depending on the situation, to understand what to reflect on, because your students, depending on who they are, might have different controllables or non-controllables. But more or less, if you are dictating the pacing, and when I say that, I mean, if you're not facilitating a mastery level classroom where students have voice and choice in their pacing and progression through content, no judgment, but because you are facilitating that classroom, you do have the opportunity to reflect on other things. I love that you suggested behavior as one of them. I think student building up their characteristics is a great one related to behavior that they could be working towards.
Yeah, so I think identifying what students can control is an important starting point, whether it's an internal thing that you do on your own of what do my students, what are they able to control, and then deciding what your reflection will be. But then I think too, it's important to really kind of be specific with the reflection. And I'm saying this from a person who is guilty of the general, like, reflect on your quarter, reflect on this semester. And it's this very like big open-ended. And I would have students that would be like, I want to do better. It's like, what the heck does that even mean? So I think being very specific as to what are you wanting them to reflect on? Do you want them to reflect on their, let's say they can control all the things. We'll go with that route. Do you want them to reflect specifically on what they do as a learner? Because them as a learner looks different than them as a person. And, I know, especially like you and I both taught middle level. So it was important for students to reflect like their character and for them to think about how they are as a person, not just in the school setting, but in the halls and in those non-structured spaces. So teasing out what are you actually having them reflect, whether it's content, behavior, characters, and then give them some like real things for them to think about. But then knowing after they've reflected, what are you going to do with the reflection? Because as an adult, we can reflect all day, every day. But if you don't do anything to make the change, it's going to continue to be disheartening. I mean, I'm sure that, New Year's resolutions, that's like the thing I feel like people hear all the time is they reflect on the last year and they're like, I'm going to work out every day, but then they don't do anything. And it's that like icky feeling of like, well, the reflection feels the same every day I do this reflection. So giving students an opportunity and a platform to then make the change and figure out what are their next steps going to be.
So you're doing a lot here, Katie. I think like this is a good structure for maybe a newbie listening to this
Yeah.
conversation to dive into because we're talking about reflection. And through that reflection, what I heard you share, especially if this is new to your students, because this is
Yes.
something that we want to guide them through, is during that reflective process, being strategic with your questioning, where you're guiding them through essentially the process of reflection. So maybe question one is get them started, and then question two should build off of question one, kind of walk
Mhm.
them
Yep.
through this reflective journey, and then at the end, whatever that looks like, they should have gone through a reflective journey to have some sort of encapsulating
Yep.
reflection. The other element you mentioned is then the process of considering goal setting or improving the
Mhm.
reflection, because the reflection component is just identifying more or less a problem that needs to be solved or an intention. So
Or or not. It can be the other side too of things that are going really
doing
well.
really well. I would, but the goal would be I would like to continue this, or I would
Yes.
like
Right.
so
There's still
going
a
through
goal.
something with students where they're taking that reflection, shifting it slightly into some sort of goal statement, and then working through what does this look like 5 months from now? What does this look like 2 months from now? What does this look like tomorrow? So
Mhm.
going through that goal intention that also is that short term and long term journey.
Mhm.
And then I kind of think the last piece of this is not only having that accountability element within the goal, which I think is important, right? Is there a time, when's the next time you're reflecting to see how this is going? But something that Joe mentioned in the comments, I think is kind of valuable, is this could be a good time to ask your students for feedback. And
Mhm.
I would personally phrase it as like, now that you have this goal, you've gone through this reflection, what do you hope the teacher does to support you in this? And that is a good space for you as the educator to get some feedback from students that maybe doesn't go anywhere. It's just for your use. But if you're going to go through this whole process, I love the opportunity at the very end to say, tell me about this experience for yourself. Tell me about how I can support you. These are good things for you to consider as the educator. And you've already opened the door to that discussion happening.
And to continue with that though, even if you're not, if you want to give them a voice, model the reflection.
Mhm.
So is there an opportunity for them to give you feedback that's unrelated to necessarily them, but things that you then can model, like you reflecting and you talking about what changes you want to make or things that you want, that's it's always a good practice too, is to get some feedback from the students from what their eyes look like or what things look like through their eyes. And then having them kind of give you some feedback, you being reflective of it, showing them, talking about it, and then talking through, here's the goals I'm going to set for myself. That's a great way too to show students how to do it and kind of how to be intentional as they go forward. So I love that we're getting some feedback from people who are saying they've either done it or they're in the process of doing it, or just even saying this would be a great opportunity for us to do now.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yes.
think it's interesting. We have an opportunity here where you as the educator get to dictate how much of this you're going to do. And I really love you to be as intentional as possible with whatever you decide.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a space for Katie and I to say if you're not reflecting every day, you're doing it wrong. Because the I think the concept that we really wanted to get across was that we are getting closer to being better in this area. So regardless of where you're starting,
Mhm.
I think the journey is something beyond you deciding to reflect later today, but
Mhm.
it's how do you make this a part of your norm, even if the a part of your norm is once a semester. That's still
Mhm.
now a part of the norm. So as you're thinking through this, I would really challenge all of you, and I typically wouldn't say this as bluntly, but don't set your expectations too high for yourself.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
this is okay that you do this once a semester. You don't need to feel shame or guilt that you're choosing to do it once a month, or like I don't want you to feel like you should be doing it more often and then have it not be authentic. If you can do it
Right.
really well, not often, then that's a good place to start than doing it unsuccessfully frequently. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I say too, give yourself a little bit of credit. There's so many educators out there that use the growth mindset model of, I'm not there yet, or this is where I'm at in the learning process. That is a point of reflection. That's a reflection that you're doing intentionally all the time. So take that and realize that you're doing really great things even in the moment. And I think you and I really strive to, even though we maybe didn't set specific time aside all the time. I know you did more often than I did, but even our early years, we just being verbal, a verbal reflection or an intentional moment where you're just having students think, like any of that counts. So it doesn't have to be this form that's filled out and then the next day you talk about like it doesn't have to be anything specific and kind of labor intensive. It can just be you take a minute to say, how did we do today? How was this? Or, and like you said, thumbs up, thumbs down. I did that all the time. It took 2 seconds. It required zero prep. It felt right in the moment.
Katie, I know something silly that you and I did. I know I did it consistently. I have no idea if you incorporated this consistently or just at every so often, but it was like at the beginning of a formative assessment, like a quiz. The first question was, how are you currently feeling before you start this quiz? And it was emoji options. So it was like really excited or sleepy or nervous or whatever. And so then when you did that conference on the formative assessment or on the quiz, you could be like, hey, I can not only look at academically what you knew, but this is what you were feeling prior to showing that. Could that have influenced your success? And so I think it's interesting now. Obviously, we started this conversation discussing finding ways to reflect, and our examples were monthly or semester, at the end of the semester or whatever. I think this is a moment to say, actually, have you incorporated any sort of reflection day to day? Is there ways for you to have some consistency, even if the reflection is just at the top of a quiz prior to an evaluation,
And I love the idea that it's emojis or smiley faces. I know I've seen that before. Just something kind of light so that students feel that they can be honest. I don't know. It's something about like clip art. Students kind of take that in a little easier. So giving them just a quick second to just think, how am I doing right now? How am I feeling about this? Any of those little moments. I know at the end of the lesson, a lot of times we would do kind of a like thumbs up. How are we feeling with this? Like, do we want a little bit more? Do we not? After many lessons, like, do we want another example or are we good to move on? Anything like that counts. And it creates the culture that you are going to reflect often. And it's okay if we're not perfect every day. And I think that sets you up for such a positive classroom environment to just know that like we're going to grow every day. And that's great. That's all that we need to do. We're not here to be perfect every day.
Well, and it's so funny as you're talking about this being a conversation starter, this being something that we can utilize, not just document, but truly utilize to be better, not only as a teacher, but for students. Imagine if you put the emoji question as your first question and your last question. So as they started, they were like, I'm feeling sleepy. Maybe it's their first period of the day. As they go through the quiz at the end, then they're circling the emoji that's like, I'm feeling nervous. Like I didn't feel confident on this quiz. Regardless of the outcome, actually that gives you really good conversation starters for those organic dialogue with your students. Or if you're not able to conference with students on your formative assessments, then as you're looking through the information and deciding what to maybe reteach in the future or change your lesson in the future, that they were, or at least you can predict how they did compared to their feelings. And if it was a fluke, maybe they know the information, but they didn't sleep well last night, or kind of everything in between. So
yeah. Or even at the end of the unit too, like not necessarily on a big assessment, but I always appreciated being able to take a minute where they could like just have a quick minute of reflection of what was your favorite thing you did in this unit and what is something you hope no teacher ever makes you do again. Takes 2 seconds. It's like fresh off the top of their mind. And it just helps like, okay, I shouldn't do that lesson ever again. Or that's when I should try to incorporate in some way in the future. So
that also highlights that reflections aren't just for students, because your examples right there were students reflecting for the benefit of the teacher's success moving forward. So I think going back to that concept of being intentional with reflection, knowing the goal or outcome of the reflection process is actually a really good focus. Because for me, in initially starting this dialogue, I continue to think, well, reflections for the kids to be better, but actually students reflecting can impact a number of different factors in the classroom. So that's a huge thing. I would like to highlight educators out there who are using a mastery level system. Maybe you're your grid method user or use some other framework. We are huge advocates, and I truly have seen this create massive success in the classroom. Or if you choose not to do it, I've seen it be like a reason that you don't feel success in the classroom. If you're using a mastery framework in any space in your room, I would encourage you to reflect every single day. And I think that is spooky for some teachers. I think that it feels cumbersome. My response to that would be, maybe you need to reflect on the type of reflection your students are doing, so we can make it as simple and streamlined as possible.
Yep.
The minimum expectation that I would suggest, if you are using a mastery system in your classroom and hesitant to reflect every single day, is truly having students just reflect on the current class hour. What did I work on? How did it go? And then give a prediction or a goal for themselves. What would they like to work on in the future? The reason I would suggest that is because in a mastery level classroom, students typically are dictating the pace. They're typically dictating a number of different elements of the classroom. And a reflection could be a good way for students to transition more easily when they come in the next day. So it's not even a deep dive of enhancing massive character traits that we want them to be better in as human beings, but helping you transition from morning to afternoon to evening and back again. So something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of good comments in the chat. If you're following with us, I encourage you to read other people's, but also if you're watching this at a later time, I would encourage you to go find this on the Facebook group, because there's lots of good comments, lots of good ideas. Joshua Stanford, good morning. But just classrooms are meant to be messy. The learning process is not perfect, especially with the various needs of students. And I think not only with various needs of students, but also different teaching styles, different teaching personalities. It's all a collective unit. And so the reflection will look different. What you take away will look different depending on the classroom. And I think that's all good. I think that's good stuff. It doesn't have to be a cookie cutter kind of way. So
we've given them a lot to think about. We will get to our morning challenge, but should we take a quick brain break here and get into our community spotlight?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey friends, thank you for tuning into the Wednesday Wake Up. We have a few more things for you before we wrap up our show this morning and then send you off to a very successful Wednesday. We are about to highlight somebody who is an incredible leader in one of the spaces of our community. They do so much to support not only our educators here in a virtual sense, but truly so much for educators in their school buildings all across the US and Canada. Before we do that, though, I would love to highlight another group that we have, another networking element of our team that I know is going through a really, really exciting transition next week. If you have not gotten the news yet, the Teach Better Team Ambassador applications are opening November 1st. It is less than a week from today. It is Tuesday next week. I'm so excited to have a number of different ways for you to learn about applying for this program, but a few highlights for you. The Ambassador community was founded in 2020, and it was created by team members within our team that saw an opportunity for us to have an even further close group of educators that not only get to engage with one another on a daily basis, but get exclusive content, exclusive opportunities, and exclusive discounts that our community is able to offer. This is a completely free opportunity for you to engage with mentors and other learning opportunities within this incredible crew. They spent all summer revamping this now that we have been able to open applications twice and welcome in 2 different group of ambassadors. And now we are excited to open applications for the 3rd time with a brand new and improved program. And we cannot wait for all of you to apply. Applications do open November 1st, and they stay open all of the month of November through the 27th. And I will tell you, the application is short and sweet. It takes about 15 minutes at most. And it is a great opportunity for you to intentionally set a goal to be a stronger, more connected educator by being a part of a group that really carries that Teach Better mindset. So for more information, here is a little video clip for you. We hope you all have marked your calendars to apply for the Teach Better Team Ambassador Program. You can learn how to apply, including all the benefits of the program over at teachbetter.com/ambassador. Katie, we have a really fun community highlight of somebody that I know we both know and love. Should we get into this highlight?
Absolutely.
So our highlight this morning is Erin Healy. For those of you who do not know, she actually is the lead for our Speakers Network. So she's our Speakers Network manager here on the Teach Better team. As her full-time role, she's also a secondary instructional coach. Her handle to connect with her on social media is right there on the screen. And when we asked her what she loves about education, she says, "I'm passionate about supporting all students and teachers to be their very best and share their voices in every space." Erin does so much to connect so many of our speakers networks with school districts and conferences around the world. One of, to name a few of our speakers network, if you're unfamiliar, you can see the full list over at teachbetter.com/speakers network. But Mickey Smith Jr., Dr. Neil Gupta,
Brittany
Brittany
Wolf.
Wolf, Mandy Freilich. I mean, there are so many educators that are working with our speakers network that Erin supports and kind of like sends them out into the world. I love this opportunity that she's given us.
Yeah, Erin's such a hard worker, and she does so much for her like day-to-day job with her, her district. But then for us, she's such an advocate to get people, in schools and to present. And so it's so fun. I'm glad that we got to see her twice in person in the last couple months. So that's been awesome. And I just really love Erin.
Spoiler alert, she also is putting out a course with Joshua Stamper next month. Yeah. So that's going to be a huge deal. We'll be right back for our Monday challenge. Good morning, friends. We are wrapping up our Wednesday Wake Up Morning Show with the Teach Better team, where we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn every single Wednesday morning. Katie, we had some great discussion, a few shenanigans, but a great discussion on educators being more intentional with their use and facilitation of reflection. What is a strong morning challenge that we can give them? Again, wanting to give them a challenge that is actionable and something that is realistic to chew on this morning.
I think we have to piggyback off of what we just discussed. I think we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week. Find a moment. If you are not someone that intentionally reflects, I think find a moment to reflect for yourself. So take that moment to reflect on the things that you feel you should control and you should reflect on, but then also maybe come up with a plan on how you can have students reflect. Either very simple, like we talked about, kind of in the moment, verbally in class, or giving them more of a space to reflect on some of those bigger items where then there's some actionable steps afterwards. So I would say take the next couple of days, even if you're, just as you're brewing coffee in the morning, think about what are some things that you want to make sure that you're reflecting on, and just having that intentional moment to put it in your mind of good, bad, and everything in between.
It's always beneficial during any time that we are doing reflection ourselves or trying to improve to have an accountability partner. So if any of you are interested, Katie and I would love to continue to support you in this pursuit. So if you're looking for that little extra step this week with your morning challenge, we'd love to challenge you to do everything Katie just said, and then direct message us and let us know what you came up with. We would love to hear kind of where you are in your journey through this. So, we're all in different spots, and I'd love to hear how it went for you. And if you decided to do anything, I'd love to follow up to hear how it goes. So exciting challenge, Katie. I feel like that's totally realistic for a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of what I would call Halloween week.
There it is.
There it is. Friends, we hope you have an incredible Wednesday ahead. Is October 26th. And we know there's some nutty energy in our schools, but we are sending you love and support to be incredibly successful. Please let us know if you need anything. Otherwise, we will see you this coming Sunday as we continue with our Sunday weekly warm-up, and next Wednesday for our Wednesday wake up. We have a lot to celebrate here on the team, so stick with us. We want to wish you a wonderful week ahead. Bye, guys.